He told me that he will kill me and my mother if I even think about stealing his heritage from my grandparents. Ask Reddit on Reddit Rundown. What insult was so mean that it permanently damaged your self-esteem? I'll start. When I was younger, an older friend that I used to look up to back then told me while we're having fun in a group, if could see yourself laugh, you would probably never laugh again. I'm still self-conscious about my laugh 10 years later. Somebody replied, OMG, I love when people are enjoying themselves so much they let it all drop and laugh their weirdest, craziest laugh. A guy I know is the most reserved, serious, controlled person, but every once in a while, I get him to laugh at something and it's the craziest, high-pitched, barking, braying noise and his face gets all weird and he bends at this weird angle. It's my favorite thing he does. I can never say anything because I know he'll take it the wrong way and be self-conscious, but those few seconds he just lets himself be himself are so perfect to me. I had an awful stepmother. Her and my dad locked me in my room aside from school with nothing but a sleeping bag for 2 years. Changed the doorknob on my door so it locked on the outside. She would bring me my dinner, set it on the floor and say, "Here doggy doggy." It ruined me in every way. Edit. Thank you for all of the comments. Yes, it was probably the worst insult I have ever experienced. To answer some of the questions, I was 11 when it started. I'm much better now. I'm 36 with 2 kids I love with everything in me. I was taken into state's custody for 2 years after a really bad beating that couldn't be denied. My dad had money so ultimately avoided any jail time but had to jump through a lot of hoops legally and financially. She ended up cheating on him several times and he apologized for everything. I've forgiven him but only as much as someone can forgive something like that. Now she lives in a pop-up camper in her mom's backyard and has no teeth. She was always pretty vain, so I think karma did its job there. I have an okay relationship with my dad now. He's on his 3rd divorce and it's putting him through the ringer. I have major abandonment issues and trust issues but overall, I'm pretty happy now. It's your fault your mother's in hospital. She had tried to kill herself. I was 6. Thanks, Dad. When I told my father, I wanted to come home to the family property and work on it and he said that was not going to happen. He said that he had 2 useful sons to run the property, why would he want a useless daughter to be involved? The irony is that my brothers were given the family farm and lost it, I was given nothing and now have my own farm. You're poor you? And why is your lunch so smelly? Dog eater. Yeah, I grew up not super wealthy like other kids being first generation with immigrant parents. It really hurt. I hated eating the lunches my mom made while other kids ate Lunchables and prepackaged foods or bought food from the cafeteria. Looking back, I shouldn't have been ashamed given my mom was making really nice bentos. So, I'd forego eating lunch almost every day. I'd eat maybe a small bag of chips since that was cheap to get. To this day I don't really eat lunch. It was probably something unnecessary again. My best friend who constantly told me this when she didn't really hear what I said. Doesn't sound too harsh but it made me stop talking as much and thinking of myself as a boring person people don't enjoy talking to. My ex and I had a common friend. When we were still dating, he told our friend, "She's like a puppy." Our friend confided this info to me. I thought it was a good thing until he said that he added, "You can do whatever you want and say whatever you want and she'll still be happy to see you." My forgiving personality was taken for granted. Somebody replied, "My God, that's bad. Taking advantage of the forgiving nature of somebody like that is such a fucked up thing to do. Hope you've found somebody that treats you nicely. Also, don't change. I think the world needs more people who are able to forgive, even if it means getting hurt every now and then." Yeah. About a year after that comment he cheated on me with 4 other women. I remained firm in my decision to split with him then. He was surprised I could even suggest a breakup, and even told me that I had changed. I told him it wasn't something I could overlook. I'm forgiving, not stupid. That was 8 years ago. I'm happy to tell you I'm in a great relationship now with someone who wouldn't risk anything at all to lose our relationship. I have changed a bit. I'm still forgiving, just not blindly forgiving. Thanks Op. I was trying to learn guitar and I fell in love with it. I would practice every day after school. I tried showing my dad how I was progressing and he told me, "Is that all you can do?" It's been 5 years and I've never touched my guitar since then. Pretty much my whole family, aside of my mother, really hated me from a young age. One of my uncles has 2 kids older than me and my aunt also 2 kids, one younger, one same age. They all had problems with their kids. Either drugs, violence or some other shit. 2 years before I graduated from school my uncle bitched about that I will also learn soon where my place is. I never did bad in school but his kids had to repeat classes multiple times. I graduated eventually before one of his sons even though he was 3 years older. From that day onwards he was either ignoring me or spitting really nasty insults in my direction when nobody else listened. When both of my grandparents got sick with cancer, I decided to move to in their house and care for them before and after my work. I grew up with my grandparents until I was 15 because my mother was a single mom and worked in shifts. So, it felt like the right thing to do, but my uncle didn't have any of it. Even though he lived basically next to them, he never even visited them. Only if he needed something. One day he drove by the house when I was outside mowing. He stopped, got out of his car right into my face and told me then and there that he will kill me and my mother if I even think about stealing his heritage from my grandparents. And also, that I'm worthless and I should watch my back from now on. I endured years of insults from him and later my aunt as well, because I was the one with a good paying job and I somehow also managed to look after my grandparents. While their kids were basically doing nothing. After my grandmother died in 2011, I completely broke down what they of course used to their advantage. I had multiple breakdowns during that time and developed depression. I couldn't work for months because of them. I still feel really insecure and had to rebuild my self-esteem from ground up over the years. But sometimes the self-doubt comes through again and I really need to try not breaking down again. And that's after I moved to a different country and didn't see them for 6 years now. Before my grandfather died in 2018, I visited him in the hospital. This was the first time that he told me that he knew exactly what my uncle and aunt did to me, but he realized it way too late. Me and my mother inherited everything from him. The house, his land and a big chunk of money. The rest only got the minimum. Like, why did you even go to Vegas? You're so boring. I bet you ruined it for your friends. My coworker, completely 100% unprompted, weeks after I had returned. My other coworkers jumped in basically immediately and called her out, but the damage was done. Years later I still can't help but label myself as the boring friend. Oh boy. I was around 7 years old, my mom invited her friend round and she brought her daughter along. We were playing and the girl told me about her ballet classes. I asked my mom if I could go to ballet class with her and she said they'd take one look at me and tell me sumo wrestling was down the hall and I was in the wrong room. This was about 15 years ago and it still hurts to think about. I've brought it up before and she conveniently doesn't remember. Thanks Mom. I got made fun of for my teeth when I was young. They were all over the place and I had to have braces twice and a permanent retainer to fix them. No notable insult comes to mind, but the other kids would laugh if I smiled or laughed because they were making fun of my teeth. I'm 31 with a beautiful smile now and I'm still weird about smiling. When I was in school, I was often called a garden gnome because I was short and fat, I guess. I never forgot that. I remember seeing a picture on someone's Facebook of me in a crowd and someone had written, "Look in the back. Found the gnome." It hurt, because I was never even mean to these kids but they hated me enough to do that. When I was 10, I was washing my hands in the park bathroom when 2 older girls came in. They started saying, "You know this is the girls' bathroom, right?" And telling me the boys' bathroom was on the other side. I was very confused and nodded along until one of them finally said, "Wait, I think that's a girl," and they both started laughing and saying sorry in a bit of a half-hearted, jokey way before leaving me alone. I had people make fun of my appearance before and after that mostly it was because I had really short hair. Nobody in my family knew how to take care of afro-type hair, so it was always very damaged and never grew. But something about that encounter still cuts deep 10 years later. I've finally gotten my hair to shoulder length and I'm not really mistaken for a guy anymore, but I don't think I'll ever not be self-conscious about my hair. Somebody replied. I was always tall for my age and ended up a 5 feet 11 inches female. The amount of crap I get as an adult is horrendous. As a kid, they were jerks. I wore hand-me-down boys' clothes, had a huge, red, crazy, frizzy mess on my head. I was beaten up a lot and told it was allowed because I wasn't a real girl. It started as soon as I moved to that town when I was 5. The girls in my class telling me I had a willy and couldn't play with them. As an adult I get yelled at often, accused of being gay a lot, trans, I get called FG a lot. I've been kicked out of changing rooms and toilets. It's embarrassing and I feel so wrong for going inside them because of all the staring. I look like a normal girl. I have straight hair, takes forever to sort out, I wear girls' clothes, wear makeup etc. I'm just tall. My red hair also causes issues and makes me stand out as well. It sucks. There isn't anything I can do about it, unless someone cuts half my legs off. That's where all my height is, in my legs. It has an impact on my friendships. I have very few female friends because hanging out with me means dealing with all the looks, the muttering and the comments. Most people can't handle it and I don't blame them, it's scary at times. One of my best friends is a girl and she found it hilarious and we just laughed about how uncomfortable we were making people. Friends like that are hard to come by. No one will probably see this, but I was paralyzed from an illness during middle school. I was sent to rehab to learn to walk again, but I couldn't make any improvement and I got so depressed about it. At one point, an exasperated nurse said, "Do you want this for your life? Are you just going to be in a wheelchair and be a burden forever?" She probably didn't mean it, but that sank in so much. I still have to use a wheelchair 10 years later and I can't help but feel super guilty and ashamed as if I could have learned to walk if I just tried harder. You are the worst I have ever had. Worse than the guy who raped me. And if you ever want to keep a girl or marry someone then you should never have sex ever again. So, you know what? I won't. Ever. Because now I fucking hate the thought of sex or being that vulnerable with someone who could destroy me that easily ever again. Somebody replied. Don't let someone who is clearly fucked in the head determine your own self-worth. Sexual prowess is relative. My current partner hits all the buttons for me and I can tell it's the same for her. While the sex wasn't awful with my first ex, every partner since has been a much better experience for both parties. You just have to find someone you click with. If you're so scared of being hurt you never enjoy yourself again, well, that's just you hurting yourself more than they ever did. You're only down if you stay down. This one time when I was a kid, I was wearing my soccer shoes and running from my house to the car to go to a game. My dad was waiting for me inside the car and he saw me running. When I got inside he told me, "Don't run with those shoes on again," to which I said, "You're right, I might trip and fall, and hurt myself," to which he replied, "I don't give a fuck about you but those shoes were expensive." It's been about 28 years since that happened and I still remember that moment and how deep my heart hurt like it just happened. Just after my divorce when my church leader referred to me as damaged goods. Somebody replied. I grew up in a very strict church. When my parents got divorced, my mom suddenly lost all of her church friends. They said they couldn't be friends with her anymore. It really fucked her up. Similarly, the language and rules taught to young girls in many churches are also extremely detrimental. The idea that boys will be boys and it's okay for them to lose their virginity before marriage, but if a girl even goes to second base before marriage, she is a disgrace and damaged. It's all so fucked. I recently read this book, Pure, Inside the Evangelic Movement That Shamed a Generation of Young Women, by Linda K. Klein, and it really helped me move on from some of the shame I have carried throughout my life because of my religious upbringing. I am so sorry to hear that your church leader said that to you, however I am happy that you left your husband since he was abusive. I hope you are doing well and I hope your waiting list for counseling isn't too long. Grow up hair. My first boyfriend, a boob guy, when I undressed in front of him for the first time. I was 32 at the time, I'm now a 36B. Although I like to think I'm body positive now, to this day I still only wear padded bras. He then cheated on me with a girl with big boobs. Could have been a coincidence, but my self-esteem was shattered enough that I blamed the cheating on that. You're overbearing. Same guy as above, around the time he cheated. Kept trying to reach out to him for comfort because of domestic violence at home, but it began to equate as being overbearing. Stop being so fucking dramatic, fucking idiot. My dad, after yet another domestic incident that left me crying. Ew, your teeth, some girl in high school, pointing, and getting others to stare. My teeth are 90% fine, but my bottom teeth have a slight but noticeable crook to them. These days I can't laugh or talk without trying to pull my lip up / covering my mouth. You deserve to be raped, bet you'd like it, Bet you're a slut. A guy at school who sexually assaulted me, and threatened to rape me a few times. Teachers/parents did nothing. Fix your skirt. That might be why that guy touched you up. My mom, stopping me on my way to school to get me to pull my skirt to make it longer. Suggested my skirt length was the reason why the above happened. I've been standing out here in the cold, had to get your mom to take, youngest brother, back home. You've been fucking ages, my dad, when I left the police station, after filing a report after someone physically assaulted/mugged me. I can't leave, youngest brother, age 9 at the time, alone at home. My mom, when I rang her to tell her about the above assault, asking if she could meet me and walk me home. I was assaulted a few minutes walk from our house. I didn't remember half of these until I started writing them down. Yikes. Thanks for listening to Reddit Rundown. Give a thumbs up and subscribe, and help me get to 1,000 subs. Leave a comment below on what kind of topics or stories you would like to hear. You can also check out other videos on my channel. Thanks and have an awesome day.